choose your own technical difficulty.
Right. Will it be the mic? Will it be the recording?
It will be Jenny presses the mute button.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Not How I Remember It podcast. We are on episode number 5.
It's fantastic.
Yay!
Woo!
So exciting. I'm Mandy, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host,
Jenny. Hello.
Today, we are reading, we already read it. I do this every time.
We're gonna get, but this one we actually could read out loud.
We could.
And if it was like a live thing and we had like a lot of fans, they could like tell us what to pick.
Right. This is when we make it big.
Yeah,
that's what we'll do. We'll have people call in and choose. We have read, and we're going to discuss the classic Choose Your Own Adventure, a series. This was a highly requested one, if only from my own brother, who still has his original collection in his basement.
That's amazing. You got to get a picture of that. Wait, did he send you a picture? We can put
he did send me a picture.
We'll put it on Instagram, because that's really cool that he kept them and that your mom let him keep them and that they never got thrown out.
And his wife didn't secretly take him out of the house, as maybe that I have done to my own husband's things sometimes.
Right.
So
wow. And there's a lot of them. I read some number. I didn't write it down. I don't know why, but
I did. 184 books in the original series. 250 million copies in print, and the 5th best-selling series of all time.
Wow.
So this was a big one, a really big one.
It was. I read it. Not like tons of them, but I mean, it was definitely on my bookshelf, a couple of them.
Not all 184, no. And I don't think my brother has 184.
Yeah.
But certainly quite a few of them. The one we read, the Abominable Snowman, which is written by R.A. Montgomery, was originally the 13th in the series, but now that they've re-released it, it's now the first one in the series.
Oh.
And you can buy this one, unlike a lot of the books that we have read so far.
Yes.
This one you can just go to your local bookstore and buy it. There's new publications on the shelf. Yeah, so I just saw one the other day at Barnes & Noble.
Is the one, and it does say number 13 over there, and then it says 25 cents. Somebody bought it at a library sale, and it also belonged to somebody named Chris Lind. He wrote, he or she wrote their name in it.
Awesome, Chris. Mine had, someone had marked like which of the books they had already read and had like still need next to the ones that they had.
Because you know what, they don't do that as much in books anymore, but at the end there was always like a page of, I don't know even what you call it, but choose your own adventure. You'll want all the books. And then it lists them, and I guess it does give you a place to check them off. They were all $1.95, except for the Forbidden Castle number 14 was $1.75. It was a bargain.
Wasn't as big of a hit.
That's weird.
Yeah. $1.95.
Yeah.
I mean, I had the special book fair edition when I bought the used one. And I thought these for $1.95, these were probably a hit at the bookstore. No wonder so many kids had them.
And I wonder, there's a little thing on the bottom where I could write and send in. I wonder what would happen if I did that. I choose these.
and send in your $1.95 and change. Right.
There's been no inflation. It's fine. I did read that they came into existence when the other writer, not R.A. Montgomery, but Edward Packard, he was telling his daughter's bedtime stories about a character named Pete who would go on adventures. And one night he was like running out of ideas. Like, I don't know, what do you think? And they were like, well, and they just kind of were enthusiastic and had ideas. And he thought, I wonder if I can sell this idea.
I love that story.
Yeah, it's a little different than my story of where I was telling Sophie a goodnight story. And I was like, one time there was this boy and he lived away, and there was 4 different houses. I'm like, hold on. And I ran downstairs and I got Harry Potter. And that's
oh, I used to sing my kids, or even just talk to my kids, the TV theme songs from 80s shows.
Yes.
Because I was like, don't waste another minute on your crying. As long as we're, like growing pains. And you take the good, you take the bad, you take them both. And then you have the facts of life.
The theme songs used to teach lessons.
They did. Really, now it's just music.
Yeah, it's not as good.
Yeah, I did read books to my children too, but when it got to that point where you're like, you need to go to sleep, and I have nothing more to give. And that's when I'd sing the Golden Girls theme to my children.
And then if they wouldn't go to sleep, you'd sing it in all the different Golden Girl voices. Now for Dorothy.
All right. I love this series because it was just such a groundbreaker, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there were some before this, but this certainly is sort of the gold standard for choose your own adventure.
Yeah, I don't think there were anything like this before.
Yeah, and it's still today. I mean, I know I have books in my own school library that are choose your own adventure style books, right? I think there's some shows on Netflix that are choose your own adventure. My kids have pick which ending is, which one should this guy do?
Oh,
I know that Neil Patrick Harris wrote an autobiography that was a choose your own adventure.
See, that would have been I should read that.
Yeah, I have it. I will let you borrow it. And even for my own son's birthday party, because we're still in COVID times, he had a Zoom birthday party where we created a choose your own adventure slide. So then, his friends had to decide where they were going to take it, and it would go to a different slide. So it has, had an impact on my own life with entertaining my teenage son.
Oh, that is a really good idea. I might steal that.
I'll share the Google slide. So the concept, if anyone hasn't read Choose Your Own Adventure, which I would be shocked if no one had read one, but you get a story and you read part of the story, and then you get to a point where you, as the reader, get to make the choice. Should we continue on with this adventure, or should we go back to our, camp to rest for the night?
Yeah.
They all had that same similar setup.
Here, I'll just read one of them. It's if you accept Runal's offer to join you, turn to page 23. If you decline his offer, turn to page 25. And then,
He sort of sent you all over in the book. Jenny, why don't you give us a summary of the one that we read, the Abominable Snowman, which I have to say slowly or I will mispronounce.
It's very hard to say Abominable Snowman, and in the book they used the word Yeti most of the time, which is easier for me to pronounce. Right. And I picture the Yeti from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which is not
so much more friendly.
Not who I think they were hunting. But okay, so the book on the back, it says, "Face to face with the Abominable Snowman. Is the Abominable Snowman real or just a legend? You and your friend Carlos are ready to risk your lives to find out. You will climb the highest mountains to bring back the world's first photographs of this hairy and mysterious beast. Your search could lead you to the glittering paradise of Shangri-La or leave you buried under tons of snow. What happens to you high up in the Himalayas depends on the choice you make. And the best part is that you can keep reading and rereading until you've had not one, but many incredibly daring experiences." And then it does say in a little blurb, what if it finds your camp and attacks? If you decide to grab an ice axe and fight, turn to page 87. If you decide to have time to snap a picture, turn to 86. You could come home famous, or you might not get home at all.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed reading it. It was kind of fun. I finished it multiple times in one day.
I read it again today.
Did you?
I went over it.
The writing isn't great. Right? I didn't think, anyway. The writing was great, but the fun of it, the sort of ooh, what am I going to get now? Or, ooh, I didn't like that. Let me scroll back and make the different choice. Just made it fun to read. I found myself wanting to see what other things, how else can I end this?
Yeah, and I'm wait, how did I not get to that one page and trying to get to that? And I like that there's pictures in the book, Yeah. I thought that was really fun. And yeah, some of the endings are a bit abrupt and zany. oh, you're dead. Or, oh, it's over. You're like, what? Wait, but then sometimes it did like go on. This book was the first one to have maps in it.
Oh.
So I thought that was cool because, before the internet, now if I'm reading something, I'm always like, pause TV or pause my book, and then I Google it, and it takes me forever to get through stuff. I may have mentioned that before because I just fall down rabbit holes. But this has a nice little map of Tibet and the areas and the mountain peaks. And like, it's a funny story about a Yeti, yet it's also teaching them about real life, Everest and other mountain peaks that I can't pronounce.
A little geography thrown in.
Yeah,
right?
It was cool. And they also put in that when they were explaining that the main character, me, because it's told from I'm the protagonist, it's like, you are a mountain climber. And so as the protagonist, I had spent some summers at a climbing school and was going to met a boy named Carlos. And in the picture, like, okay, we can't see that, we can put this on. He looks so young. And I thought of, Phineas and Ferb, where aren't you a little young to have scaled that mountain? Yes.
Right.
Yes, I am. But I liked the maps, and I liked the Yeti's footprints were discovered in the 1950s. And then I, of course, looked online to see if that was true, and that it was true. So there's definitely factual stuff in here that I thought, even as an adult, was kind of interesting to revisit.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. And I do think they did, a lot of the books were about like a Yeti or the Bermuda Triangle and outer space.
Yes.
Or maybe not the magical castle. Maybe that wasn't a big draw for teen boys.
No, it was forbidden. Yeah.
So they were sort of like those fun, really sort of, ooh, does it exist? Does it not exist topics?
And the Bermuda Triangle, to me, was absolutely terrifying. I was terrified of that in the 80s. I mean, it really scared me. I don't know why. I don't know what I saw on TV or what. But yeah, maybe I should have read the Choose Your Own Adventure about it. And maybe I would have been comforted a little bit.
You were like, we are not taking any flights over international waters.
No, we are just going to Wisconsin. That's all we got.
I don't know about you, but I found the Yeti. I'm just going to say Yeti.
Yeah, let's call him the Yeti.
Because otherwise I call him the Abominable. So, and it just makes me think of a Yeti with really great abs. He's like the Jason Momoa of Yetis.
They might have good abs. You never know.
Right? All that climbing they do. Possible.
Right.
But so I also got to Heaven on Earth. I broke up an international drug smuggling ring.
Oh, I did not do that.
I was eaten by a tiger.
Yes, unfortunately. Me too.
Were you also eaten by a tiger? Yeah. I rescued Carlos and got the first pictures of the Yeti, which was going to make me internationally famous. And I was killed by poachers. So those were just a few of the endings that I experienced.
So some of the ones that I got were I was killed by the Yeti, who could operate a cannon.
Ooh.
He shot me with a cannon. Oh, that's interesting that they had cannons up on that part of Everest. One of the times my expedition was blocked by a monsoon, and I ended up sitting in the hotel for 3 weeks. Oh, but then this one was confusing. Choose Your Own Adventure confused me. I went to Shangri-La, but then I left. I didn't think you were allowed to leave, but I did. I went back. And, I saw a Yeti. I took a picture, but I had no film in the camera.
Oh, man.
It was
way to prove
a real bummer. But, I mean, we didn't even hit on all the same ones.
No.
And, I mean, I read this, a couple different times. Oh, and then there was also an episode or an adventure where a man in a shop is lighting incense, and it becomes so thick, and the fumes of it take over, and I never find the door.
What an ending!
Yeah. And here's the picture, which
the fume
we can also put on the way of the person.
It was just fun to read. Like I said, you could finish one in 15, 20 minutes, depending on, how quickly it ended. And it was just fun to go back and be like, okay, what if I made a different choice there?
Yeah.
Or, okay, I'm going to make a different choice at this and just to sort of see the different endings. It was entertaining. I find that it was like the concept really, like I said before, the writing wasn't grand, right?
No.
Some of them were like abrupt and really strange. Like, the incense was so thick you couldn't find a door to leave.
And then you died.
The end, right?
Bye-bye.
But it was fun to read. And I thought, what a great way to get reluctant readers, and I think this series really, based on the people who have talked to me about it, really sort of hit that sort of tween teen boy market, which is often a very sort of reluctant reader. I loved it.
Yeah. No, on the front it says, choose from 28 possible endings. And then it said they had as many as 44 and as little as 8. And so I think that would keep people interested. And so you're not just trying to follow one story. It was quick, a couple of them were a couple pages of reading, but the choices came pretty quick. And like you said, a reluctant reader would definitely be able to follow this and keep interested in it because the format is so quick and you feel involved because, and then I would get nervous too. Like, okay, so I have this choice to make and do I go and find Carlos or do I go to my meeting? And then I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I seriously was sort of panicked. Like, I don't want to leave Carlos alone in the mountains, but I do have a meeting. But, I'm like, okay, you're overthinking. It's a book. Just,
right. I know. You know what I think is interesting, too, is now kids have all sorts of endless, simulator video games, right? Where you make choices and decisions. But back then, we really had, some Atari games and things like that. So to have a book where you were sort of empowered to make choices, you were in control. I mean, as a kid, you often feel like you don't have control over much of anything, right?
Yeah.
You have to go to school. You don't get to decide who you live or what you have for dinner or, any of those things. So to have a book where you get to make the choices is kind of a really sort of empowering thing. I think, you really got your $1.95 worth,
You absolutely did. And it kind of maybe it gave you a teensy bit of confidence, like, well, maybe I can make a choice,
Yeah.
I mean,
survive out there in the real world.
Maybe not
when I'm out looking for a Yeti.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the $1.75 book only had the 4 choice or the 8 endings, which so it was less. But I think these were good, and I would even read more. Now, did you give it to your sons to read?
So my boys had not this one, but they had some other ones that they read before. And so I was thinking about it because my boys are very different about how one was really sort of, he's the rule follower, right? So he's trying to achieve the goal of I'm supposed to be here to find the Yeti and I have to find the Yeti. And the other one who has really dark humor. So he, is more trying to be like, ooh, how do I get myself killed?
That is so true because I am a rule follower and I totally was trying to find the Yeti. I'm like, which choice will make me find the Yeti? Because that's why I'm here. Yeah.
So I thought it's so interesting, like the different experience that two people could have reading the book, right? You could be like, I'm going to follow this. My goal is to get the Yeti. And the other one to be like, ooh, what's my best way to get killed?
Yeah,
and what's going to happen,
totally
right?
see that. Yeah, I definitely will have my kids read it and see what they think about it.
Yeah, absolutely fun. Absolutely fun. I know that while I don't have these specific books in my library, I have other ones like Can You Survive the Antarctic? Can You Survive the Desert?
Right, that's kind of the same.
And then I have like a Choose Your Own Nightmare series, and I can't keep those books on my shelves. The kids love them. Still to this day. So I probably should. And this book series is still being published. Get some for my library because they're fun. And I will tell you this, my brother let me know that a few of the books have tricks like endless loops. There's a race car one or you can get in an endless loop and you just keep like go to page 74, go to page 25, go to page 74, go to page 25, and you just get in an endless loop.
How does it end?
There's also one about a UFO where if you do not follow the rules, you can get to a utopia-like society, but it says, "Oh, you only got here because you didn't follow the rules, and sometimes you can't follow the rules in life," or something to that extent. Right. So some of them have some like really quirkiness to them, which is it just sounds fun to me.
Right, because it's not the same thing every time. It's a little bit different. And I can't remember which one. There was like a puzzle you had to figure out. Oh. So there was like an adventure within the adventure.
Within it. Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, I know that for my brother, these were as significant in his youth as like the Little House on the Prairie books were to me, right? Yes. I still have my collection of Little House on the Prairie books. Aww. When I just see them on the shelf, they bring me like happy memories, right? And I know that these are, because like you said, here they are. I've got a picture of them to, like still that feeling. And I love when a book can give you that feeling. I don't want to age us too much, but 30, 40 years later can make you feel that close to it still.
I imagine myself sort of reading it on my parents' couch at my house where I grew up.
Right.
So, it really did kind of bring you back. And I really liked it, reading it. And I would totally recommend it to anybody someone now whose kid didn't want to read, there's the new ones, but I definitely would recommend the old ones too. I think, I don't think there's any weird timey issues, it all seemed, the pictures maybe, like this man has a mustache, it's weird, and they're wearing turtlenecks and his collar is a little bit bigger than we currently wear, but I would definitely recommend him. I super much liked them. So
I felt it really held. I wasn't rolling my eyes thinking, oh, this is so silly or something. It was like, ooh, what am I gonna go? Oh, yes, maybe I'll go this route. Oh, I was eaten by tigers. Right. My favorite was when I broke up the international drug smuggling ring.
That really is fantastic that you did that.
Right? I know. I felt really accomplished, and maybe the Yeti wasn't the most important thing.
No, it's like you thought you were searching for the Yeti, but it turns out it took a plot twist and you really kind of saved the world in a different way.
Right. So you're welcome, world. And but and again, these are minus 116 pages total. So to get that many different, 28 different endings out of 115 pages, it just really, I was thinking about how did someone storyboard this of working out and then you have to go to this page and then you'll have to go to it. I thought, oh my gosh, just the sort of,
it made me,
the logistics
of
it.
It made me so tired. I was like, oh, and you also sent me that picture from an 80s bookstore. Wasn't that you? Yeah. Or was it not you?
Maybe.
It was. And the Choose Your Own Adventure books were
yes. You're like, did I?
I don't know. Maybe it was me. I'll give you the credit though. Yeah.
Thank you. I do recall that now. Yeah, right? So sort of when there was the Sweet Valley High section, right? There was also the Choose Your Own Adventure section, which I'm sure that lots of people were headed to the mall on the weekend.
And there was a really, really, really big romance section. I think that was maybe it's not marketed the same way today. Yeah. But I feel, is there still Harlequin romances? I don't know.
I think so. I think so. Well, actually, I know so because my boys and I went to a little free library once outside of a Culver's. Shout out to Culver's if you want to sponsor us. But and it was full of nothing but Harlequin romances. And my boys were like, "Ooh, let's get a book." And I was like, maybe not. Maybe not. The Prince Takes a Bride.
No, not the right genre. Yeah.
And so now they always, when we see little free libraries, it's always a joke. Ooh, let's go get a Harlequin romance. So I do think that they still publish them.
That's interesting. Yeah, because that wasn't anything that my daughter brought home.
I wonder if anyone ever created a Choose Your Own Adventure romance series.
Oh,
Like, what if you combined Sweet Valley High with Choose Your Own Adventure?
Yes.
And you could have, like, decided how the twins were going to react to things.
See, that's perfect. I think that somebody has missed the mark, and now we will take it over and rule the world.
Right? Yeah. Maybe we shouldn't include this part in our podcast.
Because someone else steal it.
Maybe we should just contact a publisher.
No, that is because they kind of cornered the boy market, and then it did say that a lot of the protagonists were boys, but I never had an issue with that when I was reading.
And I didn't notice if they ever used any specific gender pronouns.
No, it's just from like the names and the pictures, as you would assume.
Oh yeah, right. Because there were some pictures of you, on top of an elephant with your guide or something like that.
Or with your pickaxe and backpack.
Yeah. It just was fun. I loved it. I thought it was a blast. And definitely reread these again if you've got them on your bookshelves, or if you come across them at a used bookstore, or at a current bookstore. Like I said, I just saw it on the shelf of Barnes & Noble a couple weeks ago when I was picking something else up. So
that's super exciting. I'm glad they're still going and going.
Yeah, so read them. They're fun. They're quick. They're entertaining. I got some chuckles out of it. We learned some geography out of it.
There's good pictures. I mean, the nice artist. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love it. And I love the fact that the guy came up with it telling a story to his kids at night. Like, how universal is that? How many people have been like, oh my gosh, I'm out of ideas, and these kids will not go to sleep.
Yeah.
So I love that it came from that, and he, went around to publishers and be like, hey, got an idea.
No, and then he got turned down 9 times, and then finally someone agreed to publish it, and then it was really small, like 8,000 copies, and then he went to another publisher, and it was a little bit bigger, and finally he went to Bantam, and that's where it kind of exploded. So keep trying.
Yeah, absolutely. Perseverance, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was a great one. If you have other suggestions for us, let us know. You can find Not How I Remember podcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We have a Gmail account now, how I remember it, at gmail.com. Let us know what other books we should read. We're always open to suggestions. This was a great one. I loved it. And you can find us on Google, Amazon, Apple Music for podcasts. We're still working on that Spotify. They're not as user-friendly to work with, Spotify. Get on that.
But that's our goal someday.
Yeah. So, and thanks so much for listening. This has been a blast. And we'll catch you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
It's kind of like a 1950s Annie radio show.
Say, kids, let's talk about a book, yeah?